Got a couple topics I want to touch on. Uh, One, let that hurt go dick. Another, let that hurt go pussy. Now, one thing I do want to bring up is that oftentimes in prematurely integrated relationships, a big factor is the sexual repression, and that happens on both sides, right? That happens on both sides. It happens for the man and the woman, right? Now, when you're in a prematurely integrated relationship, and the way that you're in one of those is when you're a man who does value and desire to be masculine, right? By your idea of what it means, but the idea that you were taught by society or by the people around you puts you into a certain mindset to where you felt like you needed to repress your masculinity and your sexuality up front in order to secure a partner. So let's say you grow up with the idea that in order to have sex, you need to get a girlfriend, right? You think that in order to have sex, you need to get married. Thinking that you have to spend money or thinking that you have to do anything other than be sexually attractive and to attract a woman in a sexual way in order to be in a sexual relationship, that's being prematurely integrated, right? So if you have that type of mindset and perspective, a prematurely integrated situation is one where you're approaching a woman with your heart in your hand up front saying, hey, listen, I want to love you. You know nothing about this woman that can tell you that this is a woman you can actually love. You don't know and you don't prioritize sexual chemistry and compatibility. You think it's something that automatically happens once you've built an emotional connection. That's the wrong mindset to have. Just because you have an emotional connection doesn't automatically mean that the sexual connection is going to be any stronger, right? And in many ways, being prematurely integrated can hurt your sexual relationship, and this is why. Let's look at what a prematurely integrated woman is. My prematurely integrated woman is usually a woman who has to, well, who represses her sexuality and her femininity in order to protect herself. So let's say her mindset is in order to protect herself, she needs to make sure she has a certain level of control. And often that control is going to be used by controlling the narrative around what type of woman she is. And oftentimes this is going to include repressing her sexuality in order to secure a partner who doesn't see her that sexually. So let's say for a man, being prematurely integrated is oftentimes growing up and seeing depictions of what people consider to be toxic and abusive men. And when you see that perspective, your mindset may be, I don't want to be that kind of guy. Let's say you grow up, maybe you're from a single parent home, and your mother is someone who is very masculine dominant herself. So she ends up in a lot of relationships with men who are what she calls abusive. Oftentimes, what these situations are when she's with those men she considers abusive, it's she's attracting that type of man to herself with the energy that she has and what she allows and who she attracts to herself. And a lot of the times, what she's doing is she's attracting men with feminine energy because she herself has masculine energy, right? So there is polarity there. Or she, and that may be a sexual guy or maybe a money guy, whatever it is, but it's a man who she doesn't respect enough to lead. Her fear makes her not want a man she can follow, so she only deals with a man who will stick around even if she's not willing to allow him to lead. Right? Now, what this does is this creates a dynamic in front of you. When this dynamic is created, you see the times that she goes through hurt. Maybe she gets pumped and dumped. Maybe she deals with the guy for a little while, then the situation doesn't end. And then you go through seeing this and you're like, wow, I don't want to be that kind of guy. I want to be better than that. So you become a white knight. You become a simp. You become the kind of guy who puts women on a pedestal and says, I respect women. I don't call women bitches or sluts or hoes, and I respect women, and I don't want to be a rapist. So if I'm meeting a woman, I'm not going to show any of my sexual intentions because I want her to like me for me, and I want her to know that I respect her because I don't see her as a sexual being. And when you do that, you already done fucked up, right? You already done fucked up. You know why? Because A woman needs you to slut her out. You look at a man doing that to a woman and thinking that he's doing it because he doesn't respect her, or she's allowing it because she's being manipulated. No, that's what she needs. It's the other dishonest bullshit that was the problem. It's the other lies, it's the other games, it's the other manipulation that's the issue. That right there is not the issue. It's the fact that that man didn't have the balls to say that he wasn't ready for a relationship. Right? It's because that man didn't have the balls to walk away even though she had a smart ass mouth. It didn't put her in her place. It's because that man stuck around through a whole bunch of bullshit and allowed himself to be in a situation where a woman could push him to behaving out of character. Now, let's take a look at how this affects the sexual dynamic of prematurely integrated relationships. When, let's say that a dom is someone who is the primary giver of pleasure, the secondary receiver of pleasure, right? So as a man, when you're sleeping with a woman, she's being penetrated, she's being vulnerable, she's being opened up to you. When she's in that state of being, her focus should be to let her guard down, to release her inhibitions sexually, and just to let it flow so that she can have her orgasm, she can have her multiple orgasms, these different things. When you're in a prematurely integrated relationship, oftentimes you're trading love for sex. In trading love for sex, what you're really doing is you're making sex transactional. Even if you're not doing it with money, you could be doing it with time, energy, and resources and different things like that. And in effort, energy, just validation, you're filling that up. And as you fill that up, then she's having sex with you because of that, right? She's having sex with you because you're making her feel good, you're making her comfortable. This is the thing. Losing control is uncomfortable to her. Understand, you're winning her by giving her comfort. Comfort is opposed to her losing control. So when it comes time for her to orgasm, especially if y'all having, vaginal intercourse, right? Or let's say it comes time for her to get into subspace, when it comes time for her to really get into the zone, oftentimes what's going to happen is she's going to have a limit. She's going to have certain boundaries that help her maintain control. One, it may be stopping you every time you try to give her an orgasm. Another could be not being fully available to you, right? So it doesn't happen too often. Another way, maybe she may play the religious game and go celibate on you. Another thing that could happen is, and the funny thing is, it's not even a matter of how attracted she is to you. It's how sexually attracted she is to you, because the approach she made was very feminine, right? And when you try to push her, see, in this position, she's the dom. She's giving you pleasure in exchange for the validation that you give her, right? And when she's giving you pleasure in exchange for the emotional and social validation that you give her, she's in the dominant position. You want sex more than she does, so she's giving it to you for what her price is set. And because she's in the dominant position, she would feel subconsciously that if she were to completely lose control sexually, that she would give up her leverage, right? And then she would no longer be in a dominant position. Then you would be in the dominant position, right? A dom is the primary giver of pleasure and the secondary receiver of pleasure, but they're the primary receiver of ego gratification and then the secondary giver of ego gratification, right? In order to be focused and to be above your partner sexually in a way to where you're lifting them up, in a way to where they trust you and they let their guard down, especially when you're dealing with a woman, a big aspect of this is she needs to feel like you're bigger than what she's afraid of, which means that you have the ability to lead past her fears, which means you have the ability to have that same level of aggression, that same level of dominance, and above that, of someone who actually would take advantage of her. Psychologically, she needs that. A lot of times men try to make women feel safe by convincing them that they're harmless. That does not make a woman feel safe. It makes her feel more afraid. by trying to convince her you're harmless. That's why I don't complain. I don't argue if someone says I'm toxic. I don't argue. Cool, I'm toxic. Cool. Because one thing I've realized is that even when it comes to attracting women, when you try to attract women by convincing them you're harmless, it makes them feel like you got something to hide and they do not trust you. Like trying to go on white knight posting and acting like a male feminist. Like there's certain things about feminism that I do agree with, and even with that said, I don't try to go around white knighting all the time. What that does is it makes it look like you're thirsty for pussy. You're trying to give women validation, but when you just say, okay, listen, I am toxic, it is what it is. Women's like, you're toxic, and they do that little smirk, that little giggle, where okay, I got you. Just give it a little bit of time. Now, the same women who talk shit about you in comments or whatever it is will be trying to get some dick from you. That's just life. There's certain aspects of dom sub dynamics that work a little bit different. Sexual dynamics work a little bit different from the social programming. The sexual world works different than even what consent culture says, right? And I think consent is the best thing we have to combat sexual assault as of right now, and different things of the matter. But even there are certain things within consent culture that do cause issues, right? I got a video talking about it. If you want to know what it is, which video it is, just hit me up or look through my videos. You'll find it. But I'm not talking about that right now. But when we're talking about dom sub dynamics, she gotta want that dick more than you want that pussy, pretty much. But she has to trust that as freaky as she can get, that you are freakier than that, and that you can keep a level head and take her to those points and reach those peaks and valleys. When you're prematurely integrated, you don't really have that effect in a relationship. She's trying to give you enough pussy to keep that validation coming in. Enough validation to keep that emotional affection and attention and commitment, and to keep those things. That puts pressure on her. When that puts pressure on her, while she's constantly having to hold back her sexual energy, right? She knows you're talking to her, trying to get her to open up. That's not going in one ear and out the other. It is, but subconsciously, that sexual energy is building up till you can take it. But will you? Right? So it keeps building up. It keeps building up. It keeps building up. It keeps building up. Years, never having a vaginal orgasm. Thinking she can. Right? Maybe getting close a few times, telling you, hold up, baby, stop. And that's not only women who get raped, too. That's just prematurely integrated relationships in general. There's women who get raped who do that, but there's also women who've never been touched who do that. So you go from there to you finally get enough of her holding back and you start fucking off. Start cheating on her. Or you leave, one of the two. And then whatever it was that you wanted to do sexually, she's going to do that with the next masculine dominant dude she's sexually attracted to who comes across her path and spits a good game. It's been me. I've been that guy. That's Big Brody. Right? The thing to understand about these type of situations is that could have been you if you got your mind right, if you started to understand sexual integration. It could have been you, man. It could have been. But that let that hurt go pussy is probably that next dude gonna have her busting all over the place. All over the place. For real. Multiples. All kind of work ass. And she gonna damn near forget you exist. Damn near. Now the thought of getting back with your crusty ass is gonna be not savory. Not gonna be something she's looking forward to. So she's just moving on to the next thing now. She's no longer keeping the door open for you. Because part of it was because, there's a bunch of shit she wanted to get in this situation. So, but at least she thought she was getting some half decent sex. And then she finds some great sex. It's like, you know what? Maybe he wasn't offering as much as I thought he was. That's just life. That's just how it goes. Now, let that hurt go dick works a little bit different. Let that hurt go dick is when you've dealt with like sexual rejection and things like that, or whether in a relationship, a prematurely integrated relationship, whether it was just being a nice guy, trying to be a nice guy, and you get rejected a lot, or women play games with you, and this you just get to a point where you just lose that respect for women. With a particular woman or a particular few women or something like that, you just lose all that respect. And instead of going to red pill rage where you just get angry and just say fuck these hoes, you hold that in, you keep your composure, and then we pretty much turn to some BDSM shit. You take it out on a woman. And that happens sometimes because of relationships. Let's say you're in a relationship, you're not getting that full sexual submissiveness for your woman the way you want, like you wanted to. Then some other woman to give you some energy just from the go. And all that sexual energy, frustration that's been pent up, you fucking this bitch for hours. You calling her a bitch, you grabbing her by the back of her head, by the back of her neck like a pit bull puppy, grabbing a handful of her hair, choking her, spitting her in the mouth, thumb in the butt, sucking her toes, everything. You might be eating ass, nigga. I don't know what you doing. You could be doing anything. Grabbing it, getting the toys out on her, tying her ass up, doing all that for hours. You're not doing your girl like that. You're not doing her like that. You know, one goal that I have for prematurely integrated relationships, and I'm, you know what, before I jump to that, I'm gonna say this. See, what that let the hurt go dick does oftentimes is that if you don't manage it right, because you can use it to your benefit to increase your sexual confidence, but something to understand is that if you don't use it right, then you're gonna build a habit of rewarding bad behavior with great dick. And when you build a habit of rewarding bad behavior with great dick, you're going to encounter something called brats. Like, because I talk about dom sub dynamics just out in the wild. I ain't even talking about this necessarily in any particular community. I'm just talking about dom sub dynamics out in the wild. You got fully submissive women. When you present yourself as masculine and dominant, that energy is exuding from you. You're going to attract submissives. You're going to attract brats. Right? When you attract brats, you're going to deal with some bullshit. I'm telling you right now. Because that's part of what makes you go into that let that hurt go dick rage. The girl been ignoring your phone. You hit her up. But instead of saying fuck that bitch and forgetting she exists, you take her little bullshit excuse. Keep hitting her up. She hits you up time to time. And then she finally lets you get some of that ass. And you tear it out the frame. She don't deserve dick that good. You fucking up. I'm telling you right now, I done been there. You gonna end up with some bullshit. And I'm gonna be laughing with you. And I've been there too. It happens, man. You'll be alright. But everybody gotta learn. But, that'll put you in some trouble. That'll put you in some trouble. I think a big goal I have for prematurely integrated relationships is that as you make that quest into creating a better masculine-feminine dynamic, because I make videos for men and women. I got clients that are men and women come to me because they see what I'm talking about. They see these different scenarios and patterns popping up in their dating lives, and they're just saying, I want to try something different. This is something different. I see the logic behind what he's talking about, and I want something a little bit better. I would like a dynamic like what he's talking about. So these people are making their journey toward masculine feminine dynamics, and they're making their journey towards creating better sexual polarity, dom sub dynamics even better. That in these scenarios, you learn to let that hurt go with each other. Right? Let that hurt go with each other. And even better than that, as a man, you need to learn how to reward the behavior that you like to see. Don't let your woman have to act up for you to fuck her good. Please don't do that. And if she's acting up, I suggest don't fuck her as good or don't fuck her at all. Put her on dick sucking duty. Pleasure denial, right? Pleasure denial that builds up desire. Because one thing I've realized about women in my experience is that the more horny she is when she's around you, the more aroused she is by you when she's around you. That's the halo effect. The things that you teach her when she's horny, when she's aroused, when she's turned on by just being in your presence, the halo effect comes in, and the things that you say that go against her social programming, they just sound perfect to her, right? And most of this shit's gonna go against her social programming. So when you're in that position, the social program is not really gonna pop up like that. So you have to make sure that she's horny in your presence as much as possible. So sometimes you got to do pleasure denial. Once you can tell she's starting to get a little bit in her social programming more than usual, when you can tell she's starting to get a little bit more snappy, a little bit more bitchy than usual, she's starting to get out of line a little bit, sometimes you got to just say, hey, no more dick. Or at least you make her wait for it. Don't just jump at the first opportunity to have sex with her, because some women will have sex with you to lower your morale. Some women will have sex with you just to get you off your defenses when they've already disrespected you. Some women will do it to undermine your authority. And some women will act up purposefully to get fuck rough. You're rewarding bad behavior. When she does well, that's when you do your dom sessions. Right? If she's not, you got to put her on some kind of pleasure denial. But that's why you got to get her addicted to sucking your dick too. I made a video about that already, but you got to watch that. You got to watch that. You got to get her addicted to sucking your dick. You got to. That way, when you do pleasure denial, as far as you're not giving her no dick, you can also not eat the pussy during that time. I would probably do it anyways, but it depends. Sometimes you just go strictly, dick denial. Sometimes it's, you got to ride it. I ain't doing shit. Just suck that motherfucker. Sometimes it's that, but you can get extreme sometimes. Sometimes it's no dick, no head, nothing at all. Sometimes I don't even want you to suck it. So it's just like, what that does is that gives her opportunity to want it and not have it while she wants it. Because for you, maybe every single time she wants it, she can have it. So it feels too consistent. Starts feeling too familiar. Then it loses its mystique. Right? But let that be more of a privilege that comes with good behavior, to have that type of consistency with it. Right? Because after that, you got to look at the situation and say, okay, cool. You want her to feel like the better she behaves with you, the better you gonna fuck her. So have some wrinkles to your sex game. Have some places you can take that motherfucker to where when it gets there, you can go there. Have levels like that. When you have those type of levels, now you can play that kind of game. If your dick ain't got no kind of levels to it, then nigga, you can't play that game. You're not there. You try to play that game and she just gonna, she might be cheating on you anyways, but now she definitely gonna go cheat on you. So just know where you at with the shit. You know the effect that you have on her with it. But that will also increase the effect from time to time. It's just something that just happens. Because everybody gonna act up a little sometimes. Because some people will look at that like that's some type of way, but really what it is it's giving an opportunity for that desire to grow. She doesn't want it enough. So when she gets it, she's not necessarily as excited by it. And it's not even so much about your performance, because when she gets into that place, she may not even be fully able to get into going as heavy as you want to. She may want it to be a little bit quicker. You know what I mean? She may want it to be, a little bit less positions. That's when you're like, oh, you don't want to get in this position? Okay, I'm going to just put his dick back up. You got to give her a little bit of time to miss it. Right? To where she's less worried about how she's getting it. Because a woman can start controlling you and changing the dynamics of the relationship during sex, even if she's having sex with you. who's leading the interactions. And yes, she can have times lead interactions, but you have to give her that power, not something she just takes from you. But maybe that's what you want. Maybe more on the submissive side. Maybe you need to feel that extra desired, you know? Because I look at that shit a little bit different. How Dom sub dynamics work. I look at that a little bit different. You're the primary giver of pleasure. That means that your submissive partner is the one who is going to the heights and extents of her pleasure. She's going to the next place, right? She's going to experience more pleasure than you are because she's lowering her inhibitions. She's lowering her defenses to you. But she's lowering her defenses to you. She's all vulnerable and shit. You can't be fully vulnerable when you're being fully logical about somebody. You got to be logical as the dominant party. Yes, you can tap into your instincts. That's some real shit. You tap into your instinct. But as far as, you always got to be in control of the situation, level-headed. Even if you high, drunk, whatever it is, level-headed. Sometimes you might get a little wild with it, but for the most part, you got a clear head. You know what you're doing. You taking her here, you taking her there, and she's along for the ride. See, that's what Dom sub dynamics is about, right? But I also suggest this, right? This is part of why Let That Hurt to Go Dick happens. When a man finally gets to release himself with a woman, to go all out, when he finally gets to do that, a lot of times he'll get addicted to the woman, right? Addicted. Don't matter how good the pussy is, don't matter how good it's not. It's just a matter that he can go all out. He's experiencing a version of himself he doesn't get to experience at home. There's some real shit. People need to hear this. You don't want your man to have the opportunity to go elsewhere and experience a version of himself he can't experience with you. Some pussy, just some pussy. You know, that happens. I'm not a cheater, so I'm not sitting here trying to condone it. That's not my stilo. I've never cheated on somebody. Not saying I never will. Hopefully I never will. But who knows? But probably not. But I never have before. And I've had my opportunities. I've had my chance. I just try not to speak in absolutes in that way. But, you know, that's just some pussy. But when a woman gets the opportunity to make a man feel a version of himself he doesn't get to feel at home, that's when he's gone. That's when your shit's fucked up. You want to make sure that that version of himself that he wants to experience by dealing with those hoes, he's experiencing that with you. And if that's the case, then it wouldn't make no difference whether or not y'all was in an open relationship. He's still gonna be yours. Understand this. Understand this. Once he can't feel that way with you, that's when it becomes an issue. And that might be more so Madonna Whore Complex or his own issue. But I'm just telling you some real shit. If a man trying, go where you can with him to release them. To go there. That's going to benefit both of y'all. Because one, there's certain dynamics that you want to experience. There's certain things you want to experience that you might be afraid to. Instead of experiencing that with some random nigga like you probably will, damn near random, or a friend you know for a couple of years or a little while, who you never really talk to that much. That's just how it goes. I mean, listen, I'm just speaking from experience. Like, that's how it should be sometimes. Like, I'm telling you not to fuck with me, because I ain't shit. I'm not sitting here talking like a nigga who's just scared to death. But I will say I have been on both sides of this shit, so I understand. But there's certain experiences. Look up what subspace is. Learn what that is. Where you just get to ultimately lose control. You do that with somebody who you actually love and trust. I'm just telling you some real shit. That's what sexual integration is about. Right? Do that with someone you actually love and trust. Unless you're already single, then just find a nigga like me. Because I'm good peoples. We're gonna leave you better than we found you. I'm the masculine man. We're not just gonna try to run through you and fuck you up. It's like, no, you're gonna learn some shit along the way. You're gonna take to your next situations, be better woman for it. Find another man who's strong, faster. Find a better man for you than us. Or us. If we like you, we'll lock you down. And you be stuck. Shit, mine's stuck right now. I ain't gonna lie to you. But listen, it just be like that sometimes. If you're in that type of situation, pick a man who you actually love and trust. You're already together. You gotta let that hurt go. But the thing is, you gotta let that hurt of that burden of carrying the masculine energy in the relationship for so long. Let that hurt go with your man and see what that does. And as a man, you gotta get into a space where you and your girl talk and y'all get comfortable. And you just let her know that there's a beast inside of you. And you gotta let it out. And you just hope she's gonna be the woman who's gonna receive it. But it's coming out. That's some real shit. When you let her know that, sometimes you just gotta go ahead and do it. Grip her up, man. Snap her shit up. Fold her ass up like a pretzel, man. Sometimes you just get on your heavy shit, man. You just choke the shit out of her when you fucking. You pull her hair, man. You bite her neck. You act like you're a wild animal you like a lion who just killed a deer, killed a gazelle, and you're hovering over it, right? While there's onlookers, you eating the pussy like you a lion, looking at a photographer from across the pond, staring at him, while you just licking water out the pond. You the lion. Listen, that's how you supposed to eat pussy. That's how you look her down. You look into her soul. Like, listen, this is what we doing. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me. I'm thirsty. I don't care if you call me thirsty. I'm thirsty. Right? You bring that energy into it, and you just let her know, like, listen, you are mine. And she might slip up, yes, daddy, and she don't even know where it came from. Right? But once you start to implement that into your relationship, then a lot of your relationship issues can actually fix. A big issue with a lot of mainstream psychology and mainstream psychiatry and mainstream counseling is this big emphasis on symmetry over polarity. Polarity is better than symmetry. You spend all that time talking through your emotions. I love to talk. You spend all that time talking through your emotions just to get to a place where you both feel you're equal. And then when you get to the place where you both feel you're equal, now you try to go to her as equals to have sex. And she's like, you just did all that feminine shit. So now I understand where you coming from and I feel heard. Now I don't really want to fuck you either. Right? At first she was just upset and she didn't feel heard. Right? Then you try to hear her out in a feminine way. And now she's turned off because you acting like a bitch. Right? Social program doesn't usually teach men to be masculine to fix issues. Right? A lot of issues in relationships that are differences in values, not all the time, but a lot of the times those slight differences in values that are just a matter of peer pressure can be affected by the sexual desire level. The respect level and the sexual desire level, they play a big part in submissiveness. Right? The value that she places on those things. Right? If her experiences is so much different from her peers when it comes to dealing with you, that the things that they say sound ridiculous, then when bitches get on you Facebook saying goofy shit, she not gonna really follow up with it. But if it's the same, or if it's too close, she's gonna be right there with him. And every time her friends start complaining about your relationship, when you try to put some dom sub dynamics down, they gonna talk into her ear. Then she gonna get upset, or she gonna start listening to them, and then you're gonna get labeled all kind of shit that you're not. And you're gonna have to talk her off a ledge. Right? Or you just gonna have to let her go. She's gonna come back, and you might never let her back. You might let her back. Who knows? That's on you. So you gotta make sure you got your shit tight. Make sure you got your shit tight, bro. For real. But this is Let That Hurt Go Dick and Let That Hurt Go Pussy. Brody Dharma. I'm out.